Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Rasheem Arsenio Stewart podcast, episode number 8. That means we've been pretty much been doing this for about 2 months, about 8 weeks with an episode. So thank you for coming and sticking with me. As of recording this podcast, I'm now up to 17 subscribers. I may have another one before the end of the day, so that might be up to 18. So reaching our goal to get to 25 by, we'll say Thanksgiving or no later December 1, and still on pace for that. So if you're new, welcome to the channel. Glad you came on board. For you guys who have been sticking with me for these last 8 weeks of videos, including shorts, thank you for your continued support. So again, give this video a thumbs up. If you're new and you're having somebody check out for the first time, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If there's anything you want to comment about the episode, and I'll make sure that I do read all comments and I do respond back. And I may start doing it if I see a comment that I like from the last video, I may bring it up in the next video just as a response as well. Also, for the people who are eventually going to watch this in the Department of Corrections all over the country, I want to let you guys know that you guys keep your men and women in the prison system. Y'all keep your head up, keep the faith, stay strong, because everybody will eventually leave that prison. Everybody will have a release date at some point. So when you do, make sure you get the tools, learn what you can learn now, and keep yourself out of prison when you get out. Society needs people like you guys who's willing to put the work in and show that you deserve a second chance. And when you do get that second chance, you're going to prove them right by, hey, you made the right decision. Now, with all that being said, this week's episode, number 8, is going to be talking about a little bit about my mental health journey. Now, one of my previous episodes talking about how autism is a blessing, not a curse. If you haven't seen that episode, I would suggest at some point to go back and listen to that short episode so you can understand a little bit about my thing about having autism. But today I want to go back even further than that and tell you quickly all the mental health struggles that I have since I've grown up. So all the diagnoses I have ever had, as far as I know of as of day of today recording. So number one, I was diagnosed when I was in elementary school of 2 things at almost the same time: schizophrenia and hyperactivity, which we now know today is ADHD. Eventually, I also got diagnosed with a speech impediment. As a little kid, I was also diagnosed with a little bit of ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. And thinking back on that, my early years getting these diagnoses, I didn't understand what they were, especially with a kid. How are you supposed to understand what some of those diagnoses you got? But I didn't think much of it at the time. But as I got older and people helped me understand better what those diagnoses are, what they mean, and it gives me a better understanding of who I am and how I am with certain situations, especially in social situations. And it really helps me to understand that just because I may have some limitations in certain areas doesn't mean that I can't still be successful in life. So those are things that, as I got older, I also got diagnosed with PTSD after some traumatic experiences I had, especially during my teenage years and my early 20s. I also was diagnosed with autism, as you guys 8 years ago. Also, around the same time, I was also diagnosed with anxiety disorder and a little bit of depression. That's all happened within about a 3 month span, almost 9 years ago. So, been dealing with that, and so that's all the diagnoses that I have had over the years. Dealing with all those mental health issues. I've also been dealing with addiction to, like, dealing with sexual addiction and addiction to pornography, which I'm still at times be struggling with. It's hard to admit that as a human being, but that's also part of the mental side I have to deal with as well. So why am I bringing all this up today in an episode today about that? Because I think mental health issues and understanding it is something we need to do a better job as society. As you look at the news lately, and I'm not going to say all the mass shootings is mental health related, but I believe some of it is. Some of these other crimes and people are doing, I think there's a lot of hurt people out there. There's a lot of people been dealing with mental breakdowns, and we need to do a better job as society to figure out how we talk to people about these issues. How can we relate to these people, and how can we help these people to better that situation, so they can be heard and they can be seen. Because I don't know if y'all realize, and I looked at a stat the other day, since 2000, suicide rates have gone up almost 500% in almost the first quarter century of the 21st century. That is a scary statistic. Almost 500%. That's equivalent 5 times the amount of attempted suicides. I don't want to say successful suicide, but suicides in general since the year 2000, since the start of this second millennium. We have seen a rise in that. We have seen a rise in a lot of mental health cases. A lot of crimes they had to deal with somebody having a mental health issue. That also contributes to that. And that's something that, again, we need as a society. And I'm going to talk to myself too. We need to do a better job to understand these type of people, not to shun them, but to help them out, not to judge them, because not everybody who has mental health issues are retarded. And I hear that word get thrown a lot, especially to my direction over the years, and I don't like that word. That's a very disrespectful word. When you call somebody or assume that person's retarded because they have some type of mental health issue, that's not cool. You just can't judge somebody just because they're not thinking the same ways or they're not normal like you are. And that's something, again, we got to do better as a society. It's not just to jump to conclusions like that. Is to, again, to do their best to understand where they're coming from, to put yourself in their position, in their shoes. And if you know people have these type of issues, that will help you to understand that person. And also when it comes to like relationships, like especially in the dating point of view, I think it's good. You should put yourself out there. You should let people know the type of person you're dealing with. I'm not saying to put it on all at once, but as time goes along, you can let them know, hey, I'm dealing with this issue. I'm overcoming this issue. I've been diagnosed with this in the past. Is this going to be an issue with you? Things like that. And I think there's something, if you find the right person that can understand and be willing to accept and love you for who you are, for the person you're becoming, and not the person you was, I think that's a beautiful thing to find. And I'm praying that God will send that away. But one of also things you also have to do when you're dealing with with a mental health journey I'm going through is have a great support system. Like having family that will love you and support you and back you up and say they'll be there for you, not just in words but in action. Having people like friends that can understand what you're going through and encourage you, or even people that you work with or part of organizations that understand you have these type of issues. They may not understand it, but then I never have to really dealt with it before. But if you saw and teach them a little bit what you go through on a daily basis, the stuff that you have to deal with, so you have to so they could help you could help them adapt and adjust their style to work best with you. Like for example, I do better when I see stuff. When I learn something, I'm more of a visual learner. Yes, you can explain stuff to me, but if you can visually show me something before I get a job done or do something, I can accomplish the goal much better. But again, you have to put yourself out there. You got to let people know this up front. And then once you do that, you're great. And one of the things I would say, this is not just because I'm encouraging people in jails and prisons this, but this is in general. Yes, you can put yourself out there, but be a little careful with it because you don't want to say too much too quick because people will take advantage of it, make you seem like you're weak, you're soft, and they might prey on that and take advantage of that. But at the same time, you're gonna have to stand up for yourself in a way. It don't necessarily have to be physical. Don't have to mean you have to get violent with it. But you have to be willing to show somebody that, hey, I'm not gonna be taken advantage of. You need to set boundaries right away. If you don't know how to really do that, maybe you can get with somebody who knows how to set boundaries. They could teach you how to do that. But set the boundaries. Let them know early and upfront. I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm not going to tolerate that. So they let them know, hey, this guy's not about this. He's not this. Please don't disrespect him. Don't make fun of him. Don't do that. And once people understand that, that will help in your journey. And also having a better understanding about yourself and embracing your uniqueness. That's one of the things I always stress in my very videos. God made everyone unique. There's they say right now, there's about 8.1 billion people on planet Earth right now. That means God made 8.1 billion different people, 8.1 billion different personalities that makes us unique, but can help make the world function the way it is. And once you understand who you are, you can embrace that. Not only will help yourself and help build your confidence, your self-confidence, but also you can also help others to accept and embrace who God made them to be. So I just want to do that episode on my mental health journey a little bit. Maybe in other episodes I'll maybe expound a little bit on some of the stuff I have been through. But I just want to give you a little taste of it now. So looking forward to next week. Well, just to give you a quick reminder, we're only 2 episodes away from our first Q&A. So after next week's episode, before the start of the week of episode 10, I will do a couple of short. Normally do a short every week that is a motivational minute that encourages people, like up to a 60-second short. But I'll also create a second short during that week that's going to be a Q&A short. And that's where I want you guys to put your questions so I can answer them on that episode. The more questions I get, maybe the whole episode will be devoted to it. Maybe only a portion of the episode, depending on the questions. But I want to have some point of episode 10 to have a Q&A part as well. So I want to thank you guys for your understanding. But anyway, again, thank you for this episode. I'm grateful for it. And again, as I always say, embrace your uniqueness. And remember, do everything you do to the best you better do it with love. God bless y'all. And remember, this coming Saturday is Veterans Day. So anybody who's a vet, not to say me because I used to be in the Navy, but if you know anybody else who's a veteran who served their country, no matter was in this country or anywhere in the world, thank them for their service and let them know you appreciate what they have done, the sacrifices they made to serve their country. And we'll be back with episode number. I'll be back sometime the next day or two with a quick motivational minute and this coming Veterans Day weekend with episode number 9. Okay, have a good night. God bless. Bye.